Hello everyone. Yes, 2 days before the release of Captain America, and I finally got the chance to do another video. Yes, I found a couple of more Cap's allies, a couple of more movie facts, and this will be the second. This will actually be the second video. Yes, I will have another video highlighting some of Cap's allies. And first I'm going to start with one who's going to be a member of the Howling Commandos. We will not see him in this trademark outfit, but Montgomery Falsworth, the Union Jack. Falsworth was actually an agent from World War I and II. And he actually fought a character named Baron Blood, who actually he found out was his brother John, who tried to attack his daughter Jacqueline. And through a blood transfusion by Jim Hammond, the original Human Torch, who I've also done a lesser known but awesome hero on, he actually, because of the blood transfusion, Jacqueline gained super speed and actually became the superhero known as Spitfire. And Falsworth was not really a super soldier. He had no special abilities, but he was an excellent hand-to-hand combatant, had great espionage tactics, was handy with the gun. Just overall, he was a great tactician and was a very brilliant guy. And I look forward to seeing, him in the movie, even though they're not going to really, I think, call him Union Jack, except for like maybe once or twice, or maybe reference it. But then the second Union Jack would be Falsworth's son Brian, who originally took a Golden Age World War II hero named the Destroyer, and he was one of the multiple destroyers. And by multiple, I mean he was not the only one, although this was actually a ruse to trick the Nazis. And Falsworth actually would be captured, and through a scientist would be given a super soldier serum that would make him very much like Captain America, but then he would gain other abilities such as shooting electricity from his fingertips and many other abilities. And he would become the Union Jack after his father would actually fight Baron Blood and be crippled by having his legs crushed under a boulder. And Brian sadly would die. His career as Union Jack would be cut short because he would be in 1953 he would be in an automobile accident. And Falsworth would come back as Union Jack, however he would die of old age, but not before actually finally getting a hold of his brother John, Baron Blood, and actually killing him along with Captain America's help. And it was actually before Falsworth actually died of heart failure and old age that he would see a third Union Jack, and who is also the current Union Jack, and that is Joey Chapman. And Chapman, unlike Brian and unlike Montgomery, he was not of nobility. He was not noble. He was not a nobleman. He was actually a very common man, or a mechanic, or the son of a farmer, or I forget now. I probably should have better researched it. But Chapman, at least to my knowledge, from what I do remember in his biography, if he has special abilities, they're not very many. He seems pretty much on the level of Montgomery, where he's just trained in espionage, he was a good hand-to-hand fighter, and so on and so forth. And Chapman was actually a part of John Walker, I believe I got the first name right, who was known as U.S. Agent. When he took over the role as Captain America, he recruited Chapman to be part of the new invaders. And Union Jack is a character that is very much a super spy. And he's a super spy-esque character that I think is very underrated. And just above all, I think when I think of great great World War II inspired heroes that can transcend and still hold their own in modern day, other than Captain America and the Invaders, Union Jack certainly fits that list. Not exactly the best introduction to Union Jack, but it's no worse either. I at least touched upon the main points, but I move on to someone else who we're going to see, who is actually one of the main characters, and that is Peggy Carter, who is a very huge ally of Cap's in World War II. And she was even a love interest for Cap. And she was part of the Foreign Legion. She was part of, British intelligence. She was also one of the many female characters in comics that could actually hold her own against other male archetypes of that time. But what I find really interesting about her character is that in the movie she's going to be the only woman, but she's going to be the only quote unquote tough guy woman. And it's going to be kind of cool to see Peggy more than hold her own, but what I find just as interesting is that some recant that she's her sister, others say that she's her daughter. At least, it's very confusing, but I have no doubt that 2 Mercy will probably correct this. But Sharon Carter, who is actually currently Cap's girlfriend, or lover, who in modern time was actually the one who gunned down Cap during the death of Captain America storyline. She was also a very high prominent SHIELD agent. And I look forward to seeing if in First Avenger they make a reference to Sharon as to what her actual status will be. I'm going to go with the prospect that she's her sister, her younger sister. So it's going to be interesting overall seeing Peggy and seeing kind of what they'll do with her character. But I have no doubt that Peggy will be a very strong supporting character in the movie. Now, 2 characters that are not pictured is Stanley Tucci's Abraham Erskine, who was the man who created the super soldier serum and was the guy that basically gave Cap his powers and was then assassinated by Air Heinlein. I can never pronounce the assassin's name, but he will also be in there. And Tommy Lee Jones is Chester Phillips, who was the man who basically, initiated Cap into the army and so on and so forth. And he's going to be in there, but hopefully Tommy Lee Jones will play a very small role, because Chester Phillips to me is just a minor supporting character in Cap's universe. But I move on, of course, to the picture that's been on here, which is the Invaders. And when you think of the Howling Commandos, the secondary one that most people think about is the Invaders. And this was a group that back in the day consisted of Jim Hammond, his sidekick Toro, Namor the Submariner, who I've also done a lesser known but awesome hero on, Blazing Skull, Thin Man, I believe is his name, Spitfire, and Bucky. Oh yeah, Union Jack as well. Union Jack was considered an ally. And the Invaders have had many different incarnations. And there was even the new Invaders, which U.S. Agent would actually try to gather up Namor, Blazing Skull, the new Union Jack, and many others. However, it would be revealed that Red Skull actually brought them together and was using them behind the scenes. And the Invaders, how they got together was actually because they saved the original team, which was Bucky, Cap, Namor, and Jim Hammond. They rescued Winston Churchill from being assassinated, and Winston Churchill decided that they should band together and be called the Invaders. And the Invaders, I would pretty much say that they were pretty much the Avengers before the Avengers, if that makes any sense. Like Cap was basically the leader of a team that was going to be a prerequisite to him being the leader of the Avengers even. So you can look at the Invaders in that sense. And I really like this picture, just on a personal note. I think this picture looks awesome. But not really much else that I can say particularly about the Invaders that I haven't already pretty much touched upon. Oh yes, the new Invaders actually once had a war with the Avengers. There we go. That was actually a semi-prominent rivalry in the comics. There was an issue where the Avengers supposedly were framed for being either the Avengers or, if I remember correctly, something or other, but the new Invaders and the Avengers end up fighting. And there is just, words cannot describe just my excitement for Captain America. I'm sure that I did a really horrible job here explaining the Invaders and Union Jack and Peggy Carter and such. I really did drop the ball on this, special edition for Captain America, which I feel very shameful for because Captain America is one of my absolute favorite Marvel characters. And I feel that I really have not actually done justice for, Cap himself. But nevertheless, I did at least try to put forth some effort in this. And this is definitely the third movie that we're going to see this summer, but it's also one that I'm really looking forward to. This is probably the one movie that I've been most excited about, and I'm not going to be able to see it opening day. I'll probably end up seeing it the Wednesday of next week. But I am excited. I'm very excited to see just if they'll translate everything well. And currently I'm playing the Super Soldier game, and to anyone that is very fickle, I say at least give the game a rent. The game is definitely worth a rent. I was very impressed with the way that they translated Cap in the game, but I would recommend it as always for hardcore comic book fans. It's kind of more geared towards Cap fans, but it is slightly entertaining for those that aren't. But to wrap this up, if you're already excited to go see Cap, I don't need to say anything, but if you're on the fence, please, I urge you, go, because I really dropped the ball on this, but at the same time, nevertheless, I'm excited for the movie, and hopefully you guys at least tried to enjoy this. And let me know if you want me to do others, because right now I feel that after this one I may probably not do another one because of how bad I kind of did this one.